Put a lot of gravy on that soul tonight, that's for sure. Mr. DJ on Billboard's Hot 100, January 13th, 1968. The Soul Survivors, Blue Eyed Soul. There's an explosion in my soul. And even though the sound effects, and I love songs with sound effects in them, although and on this particular record it's a little cheesy, but still, it still works just the same. Explosion in My Soul by the Soul Survivors. It was a runner-up to Expressway to Your Heart. That was a million seller fall of 1967. They hit it big with that. Explosion in Your Soul came right on the heels of that. It was at 79, jumped to 64, up 10 to 54, and it went up 11 to number 43 the week of January 13th, 1968 on Billboard's Hot 100. Soul Explosion. And I mean, yeah, Soul Survivors. That's the name of the group, Soul Survivors. I'm confusing them with the Music Explosion, who did a little bit of soul. Soul Survivors was founded in New York City by Richie and Charlie Ngui. It's I-N-G-U-I, N-U-I. It may be N-U-I. I'll just pronounce it as N-U-I. Richie and Charlie Ngui, along with Kenny Jeremiah, and they started performing in New York City back in the early 60s. They released some sides, but under a different name, called The Dedications. And this was back in 1964, 1962 through 64. They changed their name to the Soul Survivors in 1965, and boy, they signed with the Crimson record label based in Philadelphia, and they met two dynamic, up-and-coming songwriters, producers. They would become so big in the 70s, but they started in the 60s. They started producing hit records in the 60s. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, always remember those names. Hot wired into your memory banks. Even if you're on your walker, just barely moving, you're 99 years old. If somebody mentions to you Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, your eyes light up. Say, yeah, I remember. Yes. Now I'm getting silly. Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff, they wrote, and they produced the Soul Survivors, Expressway to Your Heart. It was the first major hit for Kenny Gamble and Leon Huff on the production helm. And the runner-up to that, and that went to number 4. The runner-up to that, the runner-ups did not do as well. Explosion in My Soul only got as high as number 33. Despite the promising start it got on Billboard's Hot 100 as far as chart movement goes. By 1970, the group, they lost their record contract and they eventually broke up. Charles Ngui later became a landscaper. Richie, his brother, became a house painter. Got to get those day jobs. But hopefully they got a nice royalty check off of those records they came out with in the 60s. Well, here's Soul Survivors, Explosion in My Soul, coming in at number 43 on Billboard's Hot 100, January 13th, 1968.